Madam President.
The Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to start by expressing my deep thanks and appreciation to Senator Mikulski for her, once again, tremendous leadership in the fight for equal pay and for bringing the Paycheck Fairness Act to the forefront of the debate this session. You know, the role of women in families and in our economy has really shifted dramatically over the last few decades. Today, 60% of families rely on earnings from both parents. That's up from 37% in 1975, 60%. Women today make up nearly half the workforce, and more than ever, women are likely to be the primary breadwinner in their families. Women are making a difference in our economy, in boardrooms, lecture halls, and small businesses. But despite the important progress we have made since the Equal Pay Act passed now 50 years ago, including passing the Lilly Ledbetter Act, thanks again to Senator Mikulski, in 2009 to give more women tools to fight pay discrimination, women's wages have not caught up with the times. Across the country today, women still earn 77 cents on the dollar on average to do the exact same work as men. It would take a typical woman until today to earn what a man would earn the same work in this year, in 2013. And that difference really adds up. In Seattle, in my home state, last year, women earned 73 cents on the dollar. 73 cents on the dollar compared to the male counterparts. That translated to a yearly gap of $16,346. Nationwide, over a typical woman's lifetime, pay discrimination amounts to $464,320 in lost wages. That's not just unfair to women, it is bad for our families and it's bad for our economy. At a time when more and more families rely on women's wages to put food on the table or stay in their homes or build a nest egg for retirement or help pay for their children's education, it is absolutely critical that we do more to eliminate pay discrimination and unfairness in the workplace. The Paycheck Fairness Act would tackle pay discrimination head-on. It would ramp up enforcement of equal pay laws and strengthen assistance to businesses to improve equal pay practice. I hope we can all agree that in the 21st century, workers should be compensated based on how they do their jobs, not whether they are male or female. And I hope we'll be able to pass the Paycheck Fairness Act as quickly as possible for working women and their families in this country. But Madam President, we can't stop there. We need to build then on these critical reforms with other steps towards giving women a better and a fairer shot at getting ahead. 1 out of 4 women in the United States today would benefit from raising the minimum wage. That's 15 million American women who are making the equivalent of about 2 gallons of gas per hour. It's clearly time to raise the minimum wage and give working women in the country some much-deserved relief. And there are other ways, Madam President, we can and should be updating our policies to help working women and their families make ends meet. For example, thanks to our outdated tax code, a woman who is thinking about re-entering the workforce as the second earner in her family is likely going to face higher tax rates than her husband. That would come in addition to increased costs that she would then have of childcare and transportation and the possibility of losing tax credits and other benefits as her household income rises. All of this means that struggling families will experience higher tax rates than what many of the wealthiest Americans pay. And it can discourage a potential second earner, like a mom who's talking about re-entering the workforce, from returning to her professional career. I recently introduced the 21st Century Worker Tax Cut Act, which would help solve this problem by giving struggling two-earner families with children a tax deduction on the second earner's income. The Joint Committee on Taxation estimates that that change alone would cut taxes by an average of $700 for 7.3 million families next year. The 21st Century Worker Tax Cut would also expand the EITC for childless workers and lower the eligibility age so that people without dependents and young workers just starting out can benefit from the credit. And by the way, this has bipartisan roots. It builds on work incentives in the EITC, and it's paid for by getting rid of wasteful corporate tax loopholes. Both Ways and Means Chairman Camp and Democrats agree ought to be closed. Now, opinion leaders from across the political spectrum have said that this bill would provide much-needed relief to workers and families. One conservative commentator wrote in the National Review that the 21st century worker tax cut is, and I quote, "a serious proposal that has the potential to better lives of a large number of our workers." And a New York Times editorial columnist said it would, quote, "be a huge benefit to low-income childless families and to earner families." So I'm hopeful that here in Congress, we will see similar support on both sides of the aisle for a bill that would help women and working families keep more of what they earn. We've come a long way, Madam President, in terms of the opportunities women have in our country today. But there is no question we have a lot more work to do. If we take these steps that I've talked about and others are here talking about, we will do much to break down the very real barriers that still exist today. We'll help working women and their families, we'll strengthen our economy, and we will expand opportunity for the next generation of women who enter the workforce. So I'm here today to urge my colleagues to support the Paycheck Fairness Act and then build on that step by continuing to help level the playing field for American women and their families. Thank you, Madam President, and I yield the floor.